There are 7 specific signs why the kindness of a stranger is often the most lethal weapon ever used against you. Most men spend their lives being polite, wondering why they always end up being the ones who are exploited, betrayed, or discarded. They are blind to the fact that a smile is the cheapest mask a predator can buy. The most dangerous man in the room doesn't arrive with a snarl, he arrives with a compliment. Machiavelli warned that everyone sees what you appear to be, but few experience what you really are. You think you're being welcoming, you think you're being a good person. You're wrong. You are opening the gates of your fortress to a Trojan horse, and you're doing it with a smile on your face. Machiavelli understood that kindness is often nothing more than a tactical down payment. There are certain gestures, certain tones of voice, and certain favors from people you don't know that are designed to make your intuition go to sleep. You walk right into these traps because you are more afraid of being rude than you are of being destroyed. You would rather lose your reputation, your money, or your safety than deal with the awkwardness of saying no to a nice person. Think about the last time a stranger was too helpful or too interested in your life. You felt a sense of obligation, didn't you? That wasn't a connection, that was the first thread of a web being spun around your neck. You didn't find a friend, you found a surveyor. They aren't interested in your story. They are mapping your vulnerabilities, your assets, and your exits. They are looking for the exact spot to strike where you won't even see it coming. Today, I am exposing the 7 signs why you must never trust a kind stranger. I'm going to show you why inviting a friendly stranger into your trust is a form of slow-motion suicide, and why your politeness is the fastest way to get your throat cut. If you have someone new in your circle right now who seems perfect, you need to pay attention. Stay until the 7th sign, the long game of domesticated malice. It is the most insane act of betrayal on this list, and if you miss it, you are essentially leaving your front door unlocked for a ghost. We are starting with the most deceptive trap of all, the one that uses your own goodness as a handle to pull you into the dirt. 1. The infiltration of the empty slate, identity fraud. The most dangerous man you will ever meet is the one who has no past. This is the infiltration of the empty slate. Because you have no history with this person, they have the ultimate tactical advantage. They can project any identity they choose. They use kindness to manufacture a false persona, making you feel safe with a ghost who doesn't actually exist. Most men are amateurs when it comes to judging character, because they judge based on what is right in front of them. When a stranger walks into your life with a smile and a helping hand, you see a good person. Machiavelli sees a ghost. You need to understand the lethal power of the empty slate. Think about how easy it is to lie when there is no one around to correct the story. This stranger tells you he's a businessman, a traveler, or a man who's been wronged by his past. You listen, you sympathize, you start to feel a bond. But you aren't bonding with a human being. You are bonding with an avatar. He has studied your movements, your tone, and what you value, and he has built a character that fits perfectly into the holes in your life. In real life, this looks like the new guy at the gym, or the friendly neighbor who just moved in. He doesn't have baggage because you haven't seen it yet. He uses this clean slate to play the role of the perfect ally. But a man with no visible history is a man who can rewrite his sins in real time. He isn't being kind because he likes you, he's being kind because it's the only way to keep the mask from slipping. The moment you accept his story at face value, you have surrendered. You are now playing a game where he knows everything about your reputation, your home, and your family, but you know absolutely nothing about the trail of wreckage he left behind in the last city. You are trusting a ghost, and when a ghost decides to strike, he doesn't leave fingerprints. He just vanishes back into the void, leaving you to realize that the friend you thought you had never existed at all. While you are judging them based on their current politeness, they are hiding a past that might be littered with victims who looked exactly like you. In your daily life, this looks like the new guy at the gym who is too supportive, or the stranger at the bar who seems to share every single one of your values. You think you found a kindred spirit, but you actually found a professional actor. They are mirroring your body language, your tone of voice, and your beliefs to create instant trust. This is an infiltration. By the time you realize that the empty slate was a lie, they are already deep inside your perimeter. They have your phone number, they know where you live, and they know who you trust. You've invited a ghost into your home, and you've given him a seat at your table. You are trusting a person who has no roots in your world, which means he can pull those roots up at any second and vanish after he takes what he wants. Stop being a good host to people who have no identity. When someone arrives with no history, you don't offer them a seat. You offer them a cold, analytical observation. You are essentially letting someone write their own character description while you hold the pen. You aren't vetting him. You are helping him lie to you. Every time you smile back and share a personal detail, you are giving him more paint for his mask. He is sizing up your home, your family, and your weaknesses, while you are distracted by his goodness. This isn't hospitality, it's a security breach. If you don't know where a man came from, you have no business letting him know where you sleep. A man with no history is a man with no constraints. He can commit a crime against your trust and simply cease to exist tomorrow, leaving you holding the wreckage of a life he never actually cared about. Stop being a good guy and start being a gatekeeper. If the slate is empty, the door stays locked. Sit up. Lock your doors. Because if you think the empty slate is a threat, the next sign is a psychological cage that you are likely already building for yourself. We are moving into a trap that turns your own biology against you. If you've ever felt bad for saying no to a stranger, you are already in the crosshairs. 2. The reciprocity trap. Unearned obligation. We are moving deeper into the predator's toolkit with the second sign, and this one targets your very biology, the reciprocity trap. This is the moment a stranger stops being a ghost and starts becoming a creditor. You need to realize that a stranger who is too helpful isn't being a saint. They are buying your compliance. Have you ever had a stranger do you a small, unsolicited favor? Maybe they paid for your drink before you could reach for your wallet? Maybe they gave you insider information about a business deal for free? Or maybe they just went out of their way to solve a problem for you that you didn't even ask them to fix. In your mind you think, wow, what a great guy. In his mind he is thinking, I own you now? The human brain is hardwired for debt. Evolution taught us that if someone gives us something, we must give something back. The kind stranger weaponizes this biological glitch. By giving you something small, unearned and unnecessary, they create a psychological weight that you feel compelled to lift. They aren't being generous, they are purchasing your security at a massive discount. They give you $1 worth of kindness to gain $1,000 worth of access to your privacy, your trust, and your resources. The moment you accept that favor, you lose your ability to set boundaries. The next time that stranger asks for something, maybe to come inside, maybe for a small loan, or maybe for sensitive information, your brain freezes. You feel rude for saying no to someone who was so nice to you. You would rather put your life at risk than deal with the social awkwardness of being an ingrate. This is where the harvest begins. Because you accepted his kindness, you now feel rude for setting boundaries. When he asks for a favor that feels a little bit off, you do it. Why? Because you don't want to be the ungrateful jerk who turned his back on a nice guy. The kind stranger uses your own morality as a handle to pull you into the dirt. They know that most men are more afraid of a social awkwardness than they are of a tactical threat. They weaponize your goodness to turn you into a servant. The most expensive thing you can ever accept is a favor from someone you don't know. Real power doesn't accept gifts from strangers. Real power stays independent. If a man you don't know tries to help you without a clear reason, you need to see it for what it is, a hook hidden in the bait. You are being trained to lower your shield. If you accept the bait, you deserve the hook. Wake up and realize that in the world of power, there is no such thing as a free favor. There is only the debt you haven't paid yet. If you're feeling the weight of an unearned favor right now, you need to cut the cord immediately. Because if you think a small debt is dangerous, Wait until you realize that the person you're trusting has absolutely nothing to lose by destroying you. We are moving into the absence of social collateral, and this is where the cost of your politeness becomes terminal. 3. The absence of social collateral. We are moving into a territory that most men ignore until they are staring at an empty bank account or a ruined reputation. This is the absence of social collateral, and it is the cold, mathematical reason why trusting a stranger is a form of tactical suicide. When you trust a friend, you aren't just trusting his character, you are trusting the cage he lives in. If a lifelong friend betrays you, he loses everything. He loses his reputation, he loses his family's respect, and he loses his place in your shared social circle. He has skin in the game. There is a high price for his treason. But when you trust a stranger, you are trusting a ghost who has no skin in your game. He has zero exit cost. If a stranger destroys your life tomorrow, what does he lose? The answer is absolutely nothing. He doesn't have a mother who will be ashamed of him in your town. He doesn't have a boss who will hear about his theft. He doesn't have a circle of mutual friends who will hunt him down. He can commit a social or financial execution against you and simply cease to exist. He vanishes back into the void from which he came, leaving you holding a bag of ashes while he starts the same kind performance in the next city. Think about the sheer insanity of this math. You are a high-value target with everything to lose: your home, your status, your peace of mind. You are playing a high-stakes game of poker against a man who is playing with house money. If he wins, he takes your life. If he loses, he just walks away from the table. There is no symmetry here. There is no balance. By being polite and welcoming to a stranger with no collateral, you are handing a loaded gun to someone who can pull the trigger and then disappear into a crowd. In real life, this looks like the charismatic newcomer who joins your business venture, or the friendly traveler you let stay on your couch because he had a good vibe. You feel safe because he's kind. But kindness is not collateral. Kindness is a temporary state of mind. Social consequences are permanent structures. You are trusting a man based on how he makes you feel right now, rather than what it would cost him to hurt you later. Machiavelli understood that men are kept honest by fear and consequence, not by goodness. A stranger has nothing to fear from you. He has no roots in your soil. He is a predator with a mobile base. He can burn your bridge because he never intended to cross back over it. Ask yourself, if this man betrayed me right now, who could I call to hold him accountable? If the answer is no one, then you aren't in a friendship. You are in a victim selection process. You are providing a predator with a zero-risk opportunity to harvest you. You are essentially telling him, I will give you my trust, and if you break it, I have no way to punish you. That is not being kind. That is being a fool. You are inviting a man into your fortress who can set the whole thing on fire and walk away without a single burn. You are subsidizing your own destruction by removing the cost of betrayal. Stop looking at his smile and start looking at his ties. Does he have a family you know? Does he have a business you can visit? Does he have a reputation that would suffer if he lied? If he has no collateral, he has no conscience. He is a professional ghost, and ghosts don't care about your politeness. They only care about what they can carry away in the dark. In real life, this is the helpful traveler who stays in your guest room and leaves with your jewelry. This is the charismatic partner who convinces you to invest in a once-in-a-lifetime deal and then shuts down his phone line forever. They aren't afraid of you because you have no leverage over them. You are holding a handful of smoke and trying to call it a contract. Every time you let a stranger see your bleed, every time you show them your weaknesses, your home or your money, you are handing a loaded gun to someone who can pull the trigger and walk away without a scratch. You are trusting someone who is bound by nothing. No laws, no friends, no history, and no morals. You are playing a game of all-in, while they are playing with house money. If a man has nothing to lose by hurting you, you must assume that he will. This isn't being cynical, it is being a sovereign. You must demand collateral before you grant access. If he cannot show you his roots, you must assume he is a tumbleweed, ready to roll over your life and leave nothing but dust behind. Sit upright. We are crossing the midpoint of this briefing, and the pressure is about to double. If you think the absence of collateral is a risk, wait until you realize that the person you're bonding with is actually conducting a professional audit of your life. We are entering the intelligence gathering phase, and this is where your own words become the weapons used to execute you. If you've been venting to a new friend, you have already started the countdown. 4. The intelligence gathering phase. Most men are starved for attention. They are so used to being ignored or dismissed that when a kind stranger arrives and actually listens, they melt. They think they've found a soulmate, a mentor, or a true friend. You think you're bonding over a conversation. You're wrong. You aren't in a conversation. You are in a deposition. You are being interrogated by a professional, and the most terrifying part is that you're providing all the evidence against yourself for free. So, when a kind stranger arrives and offers you a safe space to talk, you fall for it like a starving man falls for poisoned bread. This is the intelligence gathering phase, and it is the most sophisticated form of social reconnaissance. A kind stranger is almost always an active listener. They don't talk about themselves, remember, they are an empty slate. Instead, they tilt their head, maintain perfect eye contact, and ask those deep, disarming questions that make you feel seen. They provide a safe space for you to vent about your boss, your wife, your financial struggles, or your secret ambitions. But while you are letting it all out, they are conducting a cold, clinical reconnaissance mission. He isn't listening to understand you, he is listening to map you. He is looking for the soft spots in your perimeter. When you vent about your boss, your wife, or your financial stress, you are handing him a folder of leverage that he will use against you the moment it becomes profitable. He is noting your assets, your daily routine, your insecurities, and your exits, the people or places you turn to when things go wrong. In the world of Machiavelli, information is the only currency that matters. By being kind, the stranger buys your data for the price of a few nods. You are giving a predator a roadmap to your life. You are telling him exactly where your safe is hidden, where your marriage is cracking, and where your pride can be manipulated. In real life, this is the helpful consultant who listens to your business secrets and then sells them to your competitor. Stop mistaking interest for affection. A predator needs to know his prey. He needs to know what scares you so he can threaten it. He needs to know what you love so he can ransom it. Every word you say to a stranger you haven't vetted is a weapon you are placing in his hand. If you haven't earned his history, he hasn't earned your truth. Close your mouth and start watching his eyes instead of his smile. Because while you're busy venting, he's busy calculating the exact cost of your destruction. The kind stranger wants you to feel that silence is awkward. He wants you to fill the air with your secrets. Don't. If you want to talk to a man who has skin in the game. If you talk to a ghost, don't be surprised when your secrets start haunting you. But as dangerous as it is to leak information, the most lethal part of this interaction isn't what you say, it's how the stranger makes you feel. We are moving into the predatory smile, and this is where your own survival instincts are hacked. If you've ever felt guilty for being suspicious of someone nice, you are currently being programmed for the harvest. 5. The predatory smile. The bypass of intuition. Your gut is a million-year-old biological radar. It can detect the microscopic shifts in a person's tone, the coldness behind a smile, and the predatory intent in a stranger's gaze. It is the only thing that has kept our ancestors alive in a world of monsters. But the kind stranger has a master key to bypass this radar: politeness. This is the predatory smile, and it is a manual override for your intuition. When a stranger approaches you with extreme kindness, your gut often sends a red alert. You feel a chill, you feel a sudden urge to leave, but then your social programming kicks in. You tell yourself, "Don't be a jerk, he's being so nice, I'm just being paranoid." The stranger weaponizes your own desire to be a good person against your survival instincts. He uses kindness to make you feel crazy or judgmental for being suspicious. He knows that in modern society, the fear of being seen as rude is often stronger than the fear of being killed. He counts on the fact that you will suppress your intuition just to keep the social interaction pleasant. Think about the last time you were in an elevator or a dark parking lot and someone approached you. Your gut screamed danger, but because they said, "Excuse me, sir, I'm so sorry to bother you," and flashed a bright, submissive smile, you stopped. You stayed. You ignored the million-year-old voice in your head telling you to run because you didn't want to seem mean. You prioritized the stranger's feelings over your own life. This is a hack of your social software. The predatory smile creates a conflict between your lizard brain and your civilized brain. Your lizard brain says run, but your civilized brain says smile back. If you choose the smile, you've already lost. You have allowed a stranger to dismantle your perimeter by using your own manners as a crowbar. In real life, this is the stranger who won't take no for an answer, but stays polite while he keeps pushing. He asks for just 1 minute of your time, or asks to come inside just for a second to use the phone. Because he's smiling and using a soft tone, you feel like a bad person for slamming the door. You think, it's just a minute, what's the harm? The harm is that you have just taught a predator that your boundaries are flexible if he uses the right tone of voice. Machiavelli understood that the man who can control appearances can control reality. The predatory smile is the ultimate appearance. It is a mask of harmlessness that allows a wolf to walk right into the center of the herd. If you feel the need to be polite to a stranger who makes your skin crawl, you aren't being civilized. You are being domesticated. You are choosing social comfort over physical survival. You must reclaim your right to be rude. Your intuition is not a judgment. It is a data-driven calculation of your subconscious mind. If a stranger feels off, he is off. It doesn't matter if he's wearing a suit, carrying a Bible, or helping an old lady cross the street. A smile is just a muscle contraction. It is not a guarantee of character. Stop letting people nice their way into your trust. If your gut says no, then no is the final answer, and you don't owe anyone an explanation for your survival. If they get offended, let them. Better to be an asshole who is safe than a nice guy who is being buried. You've seen how they map your life, and you've seen how they hack your brain, but we are about to enter the deep water. The next sign is the most sophisticated form of psychological warfare. It's called the Trojan horse of shared struggle, and it's how a stranger makes you believe they are your twin, just so they can get close enough to put a knife in your back. If you think you've met your mirror, you are in the most danger of all. Brace yourself. 6. The Trojan horse of shared struggle. We are now entering the realm of the high-level infiltrator. If the previous signs were about hacking your manners, this sign is about hacking your soul. The most effective way to bypass a man's defenses is not to fight him, but to become him. The 6th sign to never trust a kind stranger is the Trojan horse of shared struggle. This is the most sophisticated psychological maneuver in the Predator's Handbook, because it doesn't just lower your guard, it makes you open the gates and pull the enemy into the center of your life with your own hands. A common tactic for a dangerous stranger is to reveal a fake vulnerability or a shared problem to mirror you. They don't just listen, they reflect. When you mention a hardship, a failed business, a messy divorce, or a betrayal by a former friend, they don't just offer sympathy, they offer a matching story. They reveal a fake vulnerability or a tragic past that perfectly mirrors your own. This is a tactical strike on your psychology. It creates the illusion that you've found a kindred spirit in a cold world. You think you've found someone who finally gets it. In reality, they have simply studied your profile and built a mask that matches your face so they can enter your life undetected. Machiavelli understood that men are more easily deceived by those who appear to share their plight. When a stranger says, "I know exactly how you feel, I've been there too," your brain stops evaluating them as a threat and starts seeing them as a mirror. This is a tactical illusion. In reality, they have simply studied your profile, listened to your intelligence-gathering leaks. They aren't sharing your pain, they are using your pain as a skeleton key to unlock your defenses. In the world of power, this is called forced bonding. By sharing a vulnerability first, the stranger makes you feel safe enough to share yours. They give you a piece of fake glass, and in exchange, you give them your real diamonds. You lower the gate to your fortress because you believe they are one of us. You think, a man who has suffered like I have would never hurt me. That thought is the exact moment your common sense dies. Think about real-life scenarios. This is the stranger who joins your circle and immediately starts talking about how he was screwed over by the system just like you were, or the new person in your life who claims to have the same enemies as you. They are using your anger and your pain as a bridge. Once they are across that bridge, they have full access to your trust, your network, and your house. They didn't earn that access, they stole it by wearing your identity like a costume. Machiavelli understood that the deceiver will never lack victims for his deceptions. Why? Because victims are looking for a reflection of their own goodness or their own pain. You are so desperate to not be alone in your struggle that you ignore the fact that this person has no social collateral and no history. You accept the shared struggle as proof of character, when it is actually just a script. Weaponize your skepticism. If a stranger's life story sounds too much like yours, it's probably a lie. Real life is messy and full of friction. Perfect mirrors only exist in a predator's playbook. When someone tries to bond with you through tragedy within the first hour of meeting, they aren't connecting, they are infiltrating. They are using your empathy as a handle to open your vault. A real friend is someone who has stood by you when you had nothing to offer. A stranger who claims to be your brother because you both hate the same things is a parasite looking for a host. Don't let your shared pain blind you to the fact that you are still talking to a ghost with an empty slate. If you let them in because they understand you, don't be surprised when they use that understanding to find the exact place where it hurts the most, to twist the knife. You must realize that a stranger who is too similar to you is a red flag. Real people have different backgrounds, different scars, and different perspectives. If you meet someone who agrees with everything you say and has experienced everything you've suffered, you aren't meeting a person, you are looking at a mirror held up by a thief. They are reflecting your own ego back at you to keep you blinded. Stop looking for yourself in strangers. The moment you believe a stranger is just like you is the moment you stop looking for the knife. You begin to assume that since they have the same struggle, they must have the same values. This is a fatal logical leap. A predator can share your struggle while planning your destruction. They can walk through the same valley of the shadow of death as you, but they are only there to make sure you don't walk out of it. Weaponize your skepticism. When a stranger tries to bond with you over a shared trauma or a common enemy, ask yourself, what is the cost of this connection? Why is this person revealing their deepest vulnerabilities to someone they just met? In the world of power, real vulnerability is guarded. Only a manipulator or a fool gives away their secrets for free, and the man standing in front of you is no fool, he is a Trojan horse. He is waiting for you to fall asleep in the comfort of your shared bond. He is waiting for the middle of the night to unlock the gates from the inside. If you have someone in your life right now who appeared out of nowhere and understands you perfectly, you are currently housing an army of problems you aren't prepared for. You've allowed them to map your routine, you've let them bypass your gut, and you've even let them pretend to be your brother. You think the danger is over because you've accepted them into your life. You are wrong. You are now entering the most terrifying phase of all. We are moving into the final sign, the terminal point of this entire process. This is the one I warned you about at the beginning. This is where the mask doesn't just slip, it is discarded entirely. If you have someone new sleeping under your roof or sitting at your table, you are currently in the long game of domesticated malice. Everything we have discussed leads to this moment. Sit right, because this is where the kindness ends and the nightmare begins. 7. The long game of domesticated malice. The most insane acts of betrayal do not happen in the first hour of meeting a stranger. They don't happen while your heart is racing and your hand is on your wallet. They happen months later after you've let him sleep under your roof. This is the 7th and final sign, the most lethal of all, because it is the slow-motion execution of your survival instincts. The long game of domesticated malice is when a predator suppresses his true nature for weeks, months, or even years. He doesn't strike early because he is busy becoming a fixture in your environment. He becomes the guy who always helps with the yard, the uncle your kids trust, the business partner who never misses a meeting. He domesticates his behavior until he is no longer a stranger. He is part of the furniture, and that is exactly when you are in terminal danger. A professional predator is not in a rush. He understands that time is the ultimate sedative. He suppresses his true nature and domesticates his behavior until you stop looking at him as a threat and start looking at him as furniture. He becomes a fixture in your life, the nice guy who's always around, the helpful hand who never asks for much. He waits for the precise moment when your guard is at zero, when you are bored, comfortable, and completely convinced of his loyalty. That is when the insane act is executed. He didn't become a monster overnight. He just finally took off the mask you helped him put on. Think about the psychological horror of this. The person you've shared meals with, the person you've trusted with your keys or your children, was never there. You were living with a simulation. He was kind for 300 days just so he could destroy you on day 301. This is not a theory. This is the reality of high-level social predation. In real life, this is the loyal employee who embezzles everything the moment you take a vacation. This is the kind houseguest who spends months learning your routines only to orchestrate a home invasion where he is the only one who escapes unharmed. They use the time they've spent with you to conduct a deep tissue biopsy of your life. They know your passwords, they know where the spare key is, and they know exactly which emotional buttons to press to make you doubt your own eyes. The danger of the kind stranger is that he uses your own home as a cage. By the time the malice reveals itself, you are already trapped. You have given away your leverage, your secrets, and your physical security. You are standing in the center of a minefield that he spent months planting while you were busy thanking him for his friendship. You must realize that time is not a substitute for vetting. Just because someone has been nice for a long time doesn't mean they are good. It might just mean they are patient. Machiavelli taught us that men forget the death of their father sooner than the loss of their patrimony. A predator will wait as long as it takes to ensure the harvest is worth the effort. Stop confusing familiarity with safety. If you cannot trace a man's history back to its roots, he is a permanent risk. No amount of shared dinners or kind favors changes the fact that you are housing a stranger. The moment you stop being alert is the moment you become a victim. In the world of power, there is no such thing as off-duty. You are either the architect of your own security or the architect of your own ruin. The lessons you have learned today are not meant to make you a hermit. They are meant to make you a sovereign. You can welcome the world, but you must do it with your eyes open and your hand on the hilt of your sword. Politeness is a social lubricant, but it should never be a blindfold. If you value your life, your family, and your legacy, you will stop handing out your trust like it's worthless and start demanding that every kind stranger earns their place in your circle through fire, time, and verified collateral. If this level of cold, tactical analysis resonates with you, then you are already part of a rare group. Most people will watch this, feel uncomfortable, and go right back to being polite to predators. But you stayed. You have the discipline to look at the ugly parts of human nature without flinching. If you want to ensure you never revert to being a victim, align yourself with this message. Like this video to lock in the lesson, and subscribe to this channel to continue the journey. This isn't a favor to me, it is a commitment to your own awareness. By joining this community, you are signaling that you are no longer a target, you are a strategist. For those of you who are ready to go deeper, the inner circle is open. Join the membership today. This is where we move past the basic signs and into high-level control, deep state psychology, and the power dynamics that govern the world behind the curtain. It is a place for men who refuse to be harvested and who want access to insights that the average nice guy will never be allowed to see. If you stay on the outside, you are choosing to stay vulnerable, move forward, or stay behind. The choice is yours. Thank you for staying until the end. Your attention is your most valuable asset, and today you spent it wisely. You've earned the right to see the world as it actually is, not as you were told it should be. Stay alert. The person smiling at you tomorrow is already counting on your politeness. Don't give it to them. I'll see you in the next video. Apply what you've learned. The harvest is over.